lav magnets, Cat6 or an Ethernet cable, XLR to Ethernet, USB-A extensions, portable router, 5-port PoE switch, ArtNet nodes, Uni USB-C dongle, the Perfect Cue, Ultra Studios, the Video Assist, Decimator, bidirectional converters, Stream Deck, audio kit, mini tripod, small rig batteries, colored gaff tape, Milwaukee flashlights, battery pack, power meters, HDMI couplers, SDI coupler, cables, Satechi power brick, thin HDMI. Favorite power strips right now? True One cable, PowerCon couplers, conversion cables that I made, thin 25-foot SDIs, universal remote, SM58 is a little backup recorder, electrical tools, label maker, Ethernet testers, wire cutters, a 100-foot measuring tape, Allen wrench, the most compact one that I found, Ethernet crimpers, punch down, 12G SDI, a wrench with a tether, laser level. So this is my gig kit, and in here I have everything I might need in order to save a show. Now, depending on what show I'm on, I might have a whole bunch of different gear in here. If it's audio or video or lighting or power or rigging, I might have different gear in this kit. I couldn't possibly fit everything that I take on all my different types of gigs in one kit. I actually need a kit this big in order to fit all that stuff. So today I'm showing you 25 of the most important items that I might be bringing with me on any number of these gigs. And in no particular order, let's dive right in. Lav magnets. So if you're doing audio and you have to mic someone up, dress on, or some very lightweight fabric where if you clip to it or you can't find a place to clip to it, it's gonna fall over. That's where these save the day. A magnet with plastic on it, that's all it is. Call it the arm, is very long, and this would go inside of the dress or the shirt, whatever it is, and then this magnet on the outside has a little clip on it. Magnet them together, and now you have a place to clip the lav mic on that won't flop over wherever you want the lav mic to be, and it's a really strong magnet, so this thing's not going anywhere. We all know that mic placement is very important, so these allow you to get it in the perfect place. I normally don't carry a lot of long cable with me, but there is one cable I do carry, and that is a Cat6 or an Ethernet cable that is 50 feet. Now this is a very thin one, can wrap up very, very small. It doesn't take up a ton of room with my kit, and 50 feet can get you to a lot of places. One of the reasons I have this cable is for these adapters. So this is XLR to Ethernet. This allows me to convert a Cat6 cable to an XLR cable, and now I have a 50-foot XLR just like that. Not only can be used for audio, but it can be used for 3-pin DMX as well. Now they also make a 5-pin version of the exact same thing, Ethernet to 5-pin DMX. If you need 4 signals going down a single Ethernet cable, then this is what you want, the Sound Tools Cat Snake. I might need these for running 2 speakers left and right, maybe a mono signal for some front fills, and then I need a podium mic or a laptop feed coming back to me, and I need to run 1 cable all the way to the stage, all the way back to me. I don't have a stage box, so instead of running 4 cables, I can now run 1. Usually I would run this with EtherCon, not just standard Cat6 Ethernet cable, and it would be shielded. But again, in a pinch, these things can work out. So basically the way this works is there's 8 individual wires in this Cat6 cable. 2 wires are used for each of these ports, so you get 8 wires total of use. But these have 3 pins. Well, that 3rd pin is the ground pin, and you don't technically need that for audio. It's very nice to have. It can stop things like a buzz, but you don't technically need it. So that's how this works. If you have a buzz in your system, if you're running this with a bunch of power cables in the same run, you might get a buzz. This might not be your best bet, but these help in a pinch, and if your whole system is grounded, then you really don't have anything to worry about. These are the Sound Tools Cat Snakes. So that 1 Ethernet cable also comes in handy with my USB-A extensions. So a lot of times if I'm doing lasers or I need to run a USB signal really, really far, like a webcam or whatever I need, I can use these guys. So one side's powered, one side's not. I have a USB connection to my computer here, and then I'll run this, which has 4 USB ports, somewhere else. I might drop this on the stage next to a couple lasers, run USB extensions out of it, but now I can run USB cable 50 feet, multiple hundreds of feet away, all through a single Cat6 cable. Again, this 1 50-foot Ethernet can be used for any of these things, and we normally have more than just this 50-foot Ethernet on site. More on Ethernet, I have a router. So this is a little portable router. It can do a lot of things, having one input and two outputs for Ethernet. So internet coming in, two Ethernets coming out. It can also have a USB drive plug in. So now I have a shared drive with anything connected to this network. And my favorite feature of this is actually the ability to use this as a Wi-Fi extender. So I connect this to the local house Wi-Fi, and then I can have two Ethernet outs. Then we have a 5-port PoE switch. So I really like PoE for a bunch of reasons, stands for power over Ethernet, and this is a little 5-port portable switch. The one thing I don't like about it is the fact that it has a pretty beefy power supply that you have to keep with it, whether you want to power cameras or wireless access points. If you just need to split Ethernet to a couple different devices, there's a lot of reasons to have this. Some of it being ArtNet nodes. So this ArtNet node can actually get powered over PoE. What is an ArtNet node? Well, it allows me to take ArtNet input for lighting and then get two DMX outputs. So this is a 2-universe ArtNet node. I usually carry around a single universe ArtNet node with me at all times. This way, at any time, I can plug from my laptop running some sort of software like Mad Mapper, come Ethernet out of it into this guy and get control of whatever lighting I need. So that's a single universe, 512 channels. This one does 2 universes, which is 512 times 2 channels. And then I have 4 universe and 8 universe nodes as well. If I'm doing a lighting gig, I might bring those with me, but these are some portable ones that I tend to have in my gig kit. Along with these nodes, you might need some 3-pin and 5-pin turnaround cables. So this will convert 3-pin DMX to 5-pin DMX so you can plug it into your lighting fixture and vice versa, and just allows me to be compatible with whatever lights I might be running into. So sticking with some Ethernet here, I have this Uni converter, which is a USB-C dongle for both Mac and PC. This is my favorite go-to dongle for 2025. And one of the reasons is it not only has plenty of inputs and outputs for USB, Ethernet, HDMI, USB-C for power, 2 more USB-A ports, SD card and micro SD card, but a removable USB-C that goes to the computer. This is important. A lot of times I use this with a standard USB-C Thunderbolt cable. So just like this, now I can plug this into the laptop, but sometimes I might need this farther away. So I have a longer USB-C Thunderbolt cable, and now I can put this farther away from my computer, especially if I don't want this hanging off the side of the computer or anything like that. But I've also needed just a USB hub, something that takes USB-A and gives me multiple USB-A out. So this guy is a USB-A to C cable. I can plug this into here, and now this just works as a USB-A hub. I can then plug an extension cable into this and get it to be even longer. So this is a really easy way to get a USB-A extension and a USB-A hub in a pinch. I have a laptop sitting on one side of the table. I need to plug it into a device on the other side of the table, and this is just a really good way to get me there. I usually carry multiple of these dongles because it can do a lot of things. The Perfect Q. Things I plug in to my Uni dongle, but the Perfect Q is basically just a super versatile clicker. A lot of times in corporate, we have presentations. The person on stage needs to click through that presentation, but we're running it from front of house. We're running it from the tech table. So this guy right here is the receiver. Super portable. This is the smaller version. They make a bigger version, and it has a couple other features, but what I like is this has the exact same antenna and remote system. Exact same range, works the same way. This has 2 USB cables coming out of it, so you can have 2 laptops, a primary and a backup, whether you're running notes on one and the main PowerPoint on the other. One clicker clicks through both laptops. This also works if you have current presentation on it, you have the next presentation setting up on another computer with the exact same clicker, they can hand it off to each other. You can hit both computers with it, so when your next presentation comes from your next machine, the same clicker works for it. Again, really versatile to have. It's got a really good green laser pointer that a lot of presenters like. Big green button for forward, red button for backwards, blackout button that almost no one uses and everyone gets confused by, so I usually disable that. And you can have multiple of these in the same room, in rooms right next to each other, and they won't interfere. You just have to set the dip switches on the back so that they know which transmitter and which receiver they're going to. But we do this all the time. In fact, we have to check to make sure that this is actually connected to the receiver and that we're not controlling any other rooms next to us. But you could have like 40 of these things around and it'll still work for you. So that's really, really nice about the Perfect Q. So going along with things that plug into your computer, we have some Ultra Studios. Now, I have a couple of these, and these give me clean video outputs coming out of my computer. So whether I'm using ProPresenter or MadMapper or whatever software I'm using, I get clean SDI outputs. So if my computer can only do 2 or 3 extended displays, which I don't like using for production because you get notifications, you get shortcuts popping up on them, you get the mouse cursor, things like that. These guys are clean video output. So if I'm playing back a video, if I'm doing projection mapping, if I need a key end fill output, things like the Ultra Studios can do that for me. With SDI and HDMI, that could be one less converter in my chain. And I also have an Ultra Studio recorder. So this can be a video input. The reason this is better than a webcam input is because the color space is not gonna be cropped. It's not gonna do weird things to my video signal. I'm gonna get a clean, full video input, 1080p coming in through this guy, 1080p outputs coming out of these Ultra Studios. I used to carry around the much bigger 4K Ultra Studio, and it can only give me one output and maybe one input at a time. This, I can get 2 outputs and an input, and it's so small in my kit, it doesn't take up a lot of space. So I like having these around. They're USB-C, they're Thunderbolt, they work with my ecosystem, and they have saved the show a bunch. Sticking with SDI, we have the Video Assist. Now this guy solves my problem more often than not. So whether I need an HDMI or an SDI input or output just to see if the signal's getting to a projector, it's going across the room, whatever it is. If I need an extra display to monitor something, I need a backup recorder, I can do that. Audio embedding and de-embedding. So this has 2 mini XLR inputs and I have the adapter cables in my audio pouch. I also have a 3.5 if I need to monitor the audio or de-embed the audio that's coming through a video cable, whether that's HDMI or SDI. This guy can do it all. And it has a USB-C on the bottom, which can record directly to a drive or give me a webcam output. Not to mention the scopes it has for when I need to color match cameras. So this guy is usually set up on the table or clamped to the table in some sort of way so that I have it and I can be monitoring both my audio because it has audio meters. So this guy is just a really good video tool to always have on you, and it lives in my gig kit no matter what gig I'm doing. Along with the Video Assist, I also have a decimator. Fix a problem for you. So HDMI to SDI, SDI to HDMI, using it both ways at the same time, it can do all of that. But the big part about it is scaling. If I have a laptop up on stage and I don't know what that laptop's going to be, the talent's bringing it, it might be 4K, it might be a 1080p feed, I don't know if it's gonna be compatible with my switcher, it's gonna do a weird frame rate or something like that. I can run it through this, it's gonna talk to this guy nicely, and then I can convert it and scale it to whatever resolution and frame rate that I need, and I'm always gonna get a clean output from this into my video switcher. So no flashing, no weird things happening with the laptop, it just always works. That is why this guy is trusted by so many people. I usually use it up on stage and I'll replace the one on stage if someone else has a smaller bidirectional converter or something like that. I prefer to use this one. It's why it stays with me. And if I need a weird resolution for a projector, if I need to check if I'm getting a signal going in or out of this thing, I can use this guy. So this, with the Video Assist, gets me out of a lot of problems. And if I know I'm doing video, I'm probably bringing some of these either Blackmagic 3G or 12G bidirectional converters, or I'm bringing the Decimator brand mini NDLX converters. Again, these guys just convert HDMI to SDI. They don't scale or anything like that. That's why the Decimator is so powerful, the full size. But if I'm doing a video gig, I probably have a couple of these in because I have laptops, I have cameras, I have displays, I have projectors, whatever might not have an SDI or HDMI on it, I can convert it to one or the other. More things to have on you that just help a lot. So it doesn't matter if I'm doing video, I'll probably have a Stream Deck hooked up to my laptop for some reason, whether I am switching video inputs on an ATEM switcher, I might be running audio cues out of my laptop when I'm running audio, I might be having certain lighting scenes or fixtures I want to turn up and down. I'll either have a Stream Deck XL, I might have a Stream Deck Plus, or I'll have the standard 15-button Stream Deck with me. But a lot of times this Stream Deck XL is sitting in my gig kit, so I at least have one, if not multiple, on my table. So this pouch right here is my audio kit. Now, if I dump this guy out, there's a lot going on in here. And out of all of those items in here, the most important one, probably this laptop interface. So this guy right here is a 3.5mm jack to an XLR with a ground switch. So the ground switch is the important part. If I'm getting a buzz in my system, if I have a little hum in my line coming from the laptop, I'll just flip the switch and usually it will go away. This is literally connecting and disconnecting the third ground pin in this little cable, and that way I can get rid of a buzz. That's usually why you would have a buzz, is a ground issue. Whether the mixer is not grounded or your laptop's not grounded, whatever it is, this can get rid of the buzz. It just happens to have a volume knob, and I get clean audio out of my 3.5mm jack if I have to. I prefer to use a Scarlett. So this is the Focusrite Scarlett right here. I can do audio input. I get 2 1/4-inch balanced output out of these guys. And of course, I carry around 1/4-inch to XLR cable, so I can convert this to an XLR, which most audio boards have. This is how I might get outputs out of ProPresenter, MadMapper, Zoom, whatever I need. I'm gonna carry around a Scarlett if I know I'm gonna be doing something like that. Other adapter cables I have in here, this is the mini XLR to full-size XLR. This is for the video assist, so I can embed and de-embed audio. Just a simple XLR-Y cable, and I have turnarounds on this guy, so I can convert this to be any direction that I want. And again, I'm not normally doing these types of things, but it's if you're in a situation, if you have a problem, if you need to last minute do one of these things, it's always good to have these types of cables on you. They solve problems. More 3.5 to 1/4-inch. This is a 1/4-inch coupler, so you can extend things, whatnot. This is a Bluetooth to 3.5. This allows me to get wireless Bluetooth audio into a speaker, into my system that usually doesn't have that kind of capability. Again, more couplers, USB-C and Lightning to 3.5 adapters just in case. And then a lot of times I have more actual 1/4-inch to XLR cables. These ones are long enough to go in and out of a mixer all the way to my video switcher, from my Scarlett to the mixer, whatever I need. These are really nice balanced cables. So normally I have a small rig clamp in my kit as well, but that got sold to the last install. So I have just this mini tripod which sits on the table, a little ball head on it. I normally attach my video assist to this guy, and that way my video assist is taking up less space actually on the table, and I can run cables through it. Just cleans things up, having a mini tripod with you to adapt a microphone to it and point a shotgun mic somewhere or whatever you might need. But if I didn't have the mini tripod and I didn't have my small rig clamp that I like so much, I do have these small rig batteries. These are a lot nicer than our standard NP batteries here. I clip these to the video assist, and now the video assist can sit on the table and angle up at me. I can have multiple of these. Makes this a much better wireless tool. And what I really like about the small rig ones is it not only tells you if it's charged or not, because it has a little display on it, but it has USB-C and USB-A, so I can charge my other devices, test a bidirectional converter powered over USB real quick, and I can charge this with a USB-C cable, where I've been carrying around an actual NP charger. So with my small rig batteries, and I do have 2 of them and I'll be getting more, I don't have to carry around this NP charger, one less thing to have in my gig kit. I can just charge my NP batteries via USB-C like everything else. So this is probably a good time to touch on what's happening up in the top of my kit. I have an organizer up here, and you can see at the top I have a whole bunch of tape colors. I have colored electrical tape as well as standard black tape for all my electrical needs. I have colored gaff tape. This is for spiking and making marks on a stage or marking my mixer or my control surface. I can put tape on that, write on it with one of my Milwaukee or colored Sharpies over here. And these are often things that a production company might forget to pack or run out of, is colored tape. I do have some standard black and gray and white gaff as well as Velcro straps for my cables and maybe some other reasons I might need it. I like using Velcro on cables instead of the standard string wire ties. It's just faster for me. Down here I have some Milwaukee flashlights. I really like these ones because when I'm working on a rack, I can just magnet this to something metal, and they're really strong magnets. They'll just stay, they won't fly off or anything like that. They're pretty bright, and they're powered with just 2 AA batteries, which you can see down here, I tend to have on me at all times. And what I really like about this battery pack, it holds 12 batteries. They're not gonna fall out. There's no plastic or things to unwrap. You can get to things really fast on them. They're just super nice to have. I know if it's full, I'm good to go. I only ever put full batteries in this plastic. They're super cheap. AAA and AA form factors. Most common use cases for these guys are gonna be microphones and remotes. Smaller circle batteries, as well as the Perfect Q batteries, because that's not something a production company is gonna just have in their case. Along with my backup batteries down here, I have my power meters. So this is my Klein Tools power meters. What I really like about this is the display, because it'll tell me not only if I'm getting power, but if I'm getting 120 or 240 coming out of a port. I've used this so many times and have saved some speakers from blowing, because before we plug it in, we test it and realize that that port out of the distro is actually 240, not 120. So especially if you're using other people's equipment, you want to test and see what you're plugging into before you plug your device in, and it might actually save your gear. So I have a couple of these types. This one's my favorite because of the display. I also just have a power meter to see if something's getting any power. You can trace this along a cable to see where power might not be flowing. And of course, I have some other ones. So when I'm testing what breakers are on and off, I can just leave those in some outlets and see the light turn on. HDMI couplers, SDI couplers, 3.5 to 1/4 inch, a USB hub, USB A to C adapters, USB C to A adapters, and things like that. And that brings me to all of the cables I tend to run with. Again, nothing really long, some USB A to C cables, more Ethernet 10 feet, which just get you across a tech table wherever you need to go. This is a Satechi power brick, and what I like about it is it not only can power my laptop over USB-C, which can go right into my dongle, so I'm not using a whole USB-C port just for power, especially for those older Apple laptops, but it also has these other USB-A ports which can charge my bidirectional converters, and I really like using this guy, which is a USB-A to 4 USB-Cs. Now the 4 USB-Cs, a lot of times I'm using with my 4 bidirectional converters. They're just Velcroed together, and I can plug all 4 of these into a single USB port on the Satechi. Cleans up the number of cables that I have. If I have a couple laptops sitting on the table, I need to get into my SDI video switcher, I just can bring these, bring this guy, power everything, and I'm good to go. Lots and lots of USB-C Thunderbolt cables, because everything I have, I tried to standardize on USB-C. Of course, it doesn't always go that way, so I do have some USB-C to USB-B cables. When I have my laptop, I plug it into something to troubleshoot it, plugging in printers for the client. A lot of times the DJs will want this instead of having a dongle hanging off their laptop if you're doing club gigs. USB-C to B is a helpful cable. I call this a figure 8, but this is figure 8 to standard Edison, and this goes for a lot of the TVs. Again, I have square bricks with removable cables so I can use them for different things. More assortment of USB-A and C and Lightning and micro USB cables. Got some Ethernet patch cables for those network switches and routers. More USB-C cables. Lightning cables for the iPads and iPhones. Thin HDMI. I don't know why more people don't have the really thin HDMI. This one's also a 10-foot cable. I need to go from the tech table to the video switcher, and they're not necessarily on the same table. A lot of times the video switcher's in a rack, my converters are all racked up, laptops on one side. I don't like having cables like barely being long enough and like diagonally going across. So these thin ones not only pack nicely, they're 4K 60 frame capable, so plenty for what you need. I find them reliable. I don't abuse the hell out of them. They don't pull on my laptop. I've never had these guys like almost be pulling out or sliding out like some of the thicker cables that don't bend as nicely. So these thin HDMI cables, they're cable matters. They're not crazy. If I lose one, I don't freak out about it. I trust these ones. These are just some USB bricks to power some of these bidirectional and low powered things. And that brings me to some of the things I didn't bring on my very last gig, but I bring on a bunch of my other gigs. One of my favorite power strips right now is this guy because it has a ton of ports on it. And a lot of times I hate having the wall warts hanging off the power strip. You don't have enough outlets actually on your table. You plug power strips into power strips to solve your problem. I don't like that. This keeps things clean. I end up having the wall wart over the inside of this power strip so it doesn't get bumped and can't fall out. It's nice and level. Has some USB ports on it as well for hitting those bidirectionals and powering those up. So this is just 15 amp plug pretty much everything on your tech table into this power strip. This can help clean things up for me. So a lot of times I'll actually just throw this in the suitcase or put this on the very top if I do have room. More audio. This is just a 3.5 to dual XLR, getting stereo into your mixer. This is a True One cable. So these are just, again, small power cables having a lot of different types of connectors. This is True One male, and I also have a True One female head. I think I lost my last cable that was True One female. So this guy just stays together, and if I need to fix a cable on site or extend an output for whatever reason, I can do that with this. This is PowerCon couplers. You probably don't see these very often, but if you need to plug a PowerCon or extend a PowerCon, they don't link together like True One. That's kind of why True One's replacing it. This is how you link two PowerCons together if you need to extend the cable. And these are some conversion cables that I made: a very short Edison to PowerCon, and then PowerCon out back to Edison. So if you have a lighting fixture or a speaker and you want an outlet on the back of it and it only has a PowerCon out, this is your guy. Real easy to plug something in that takes PowerCon, and then you just plug a standard extension cord into this guy. And if I need to have a really small jumper cable, I can do that with this guy, and these are really nice solid connections, so they're not going anywhere. This is just a really small jumper that I have. So again, versatile things to have. Along with some more thin HDMI cables, I have these thin 25-foot SDI. So I do have some small SDI patch cables that I carry with me, but these 25 foots have saved the day so many times. A lot of times I end up coupling them together to create a 50 or a 75-foot cable. Not ideal, but in a pinch. And I usually have 6 of these total. So that means I can do 2 75-foot runs, I can do 3 50-foot runs just by coupling some of these together. Those cables save the day. A remote. So this one's actually out of batteries. Good thing I have some AAAs right here, but this is a universal remote. And my favorite thing about this is it has this little scroll wheel. I can change what it's actually controlling. Apple TV, Roku, Samsung, Panasonic, Sony. You just scroll on here which TV you want to change, and you can control all this from your iPhone as well. It's how you kind of set up the remote. You can add 100 different devices in here, and you can just scroll as to which one you want to affect. Find your Samsung TV, and now you have a full remote for it. One remote controls all the devices that take an IR signal. Super powerful, and it's my go-to remote. SM58, the most important part about it, has a switch. So that switch is perfect for a voice of God mic or a talkback mic to your band. You can leave this channel open at all times in your mixer through your system, and you know anytime you switch it on, it's going to work for you. No batteries, no mess, one XLR cable. This guy is a little backup recorder that I keep with me. It takes an SD card or a drive. Again, I always have those on me. What I like about it is I can control it via Ethernet, HDMI in and out. So if I need to record something or I need to output or play back a loop, I can do it with this guy. So I can load whatever files I want onto it. And not that I've actually had to do this, but it's good to know if I do run into a teleprompter situation, and I don't want to use a computer, I can just load the file on here and just scroll the teleprompter. And I could really easily give this to someone else, and with just the wheel, they can scroll with it. Some more of these little cables I've made on site output from a speaker or a light, and you can power whether it's a wireless dongle, a wireless receiver. This just gives you an Edison out of a PowerCon. And welcome to my favorite power strip of all time. I don't normally bring this with me because it's heavy and chunky, but for my local gigs, I might actually have this in my kit. I like it because it's square. It has a locking PowerCon plug. The outlets are spaced across. There's no on-off switch on it, so when it has power, it's on. You can link them together, and this thing feels robust. And it has a screw hole on the bottom, so you can actually put a clamp to this and then clamp it to trussing or on the back of something. This is a really cool power strip to have if you're interested in something like this. So with all of this, the one thing we actually haven't talked about is tools. The hand tools that I actually have in my gig kit that I use on my shows, the tools that I use to test things, print labels, save the day. I know, it would be crazy for me to bring all these tools to all the gigs, but some of the most important ones here are the electrical tools to meter how much power we're actually drawing through something like cam lock or feeder lines. Label maker, so this is a wireless label maker, works off my iPad, my phone, my laptop. So this is nice to create labels for things, more of an install. This I actually bring on every single gig, and it's an Ethernet tester. So with all the Ethernet products I have, and I'm running into a problem, I want to make sure the line I'm using is actually good, especially if we just ran a 300-foot Ethernet. We want to make sure that line's good. Your standard wire cutters are something that every single production is going to need. Cut the zip ties or tape. A 100-foot measuring tape so you can actually measure out how far your speakers are from the stage. Laser measure as well, those are great. Rough out rigging points on the ground if I need to measure how long certain trussing and things like that is. Probably gonna use the tape measure instead of the laser. And this is the only multi-use Allen wrench that I've found that actually has an Allen key big enough to fit the global truss nipples that you use on a junction block. That actually fits and can screw them in. So if I need to tighten down some trussing that needs Allen keys, this is the only tool I found that's actually big enough to fit those. You're gonna want some sort of very tiny screws. So I have 3 different types here. The most popular one's probably the iFixit kit. And inside you just have a bunch of different screws. I've used this to open up laptops and very small electronics, but whether you use an iFixit kit or you want something a little smaller like this, you need to have lots of different size bits. You never know what you're walking into. This is the most compact one that I've found, and it's because it's got all these different screws inside of it, as well as the actual screwdriver itself that you can then put all these bits in. So this guy right here holds all these different screws. It's the most compact size, and of course, nice and rectangular, so it fits nicely and stacks nicely with everything else in my gig kit. Get yourself a pair of screwdrivers that you can swap out different bits for. A knife or a Leatherman is very helpful. And then I just have my install tools, Ethernet crimpers, punch down for Cat 6. These 2 guys are important for 12G SDI. Again, I'm not really bringing this on site, but I have fixed cables for the production companies that hire me when the end of an SDI breaks off or it got cut or something, terminate the end of the cable to be 12G. So you need this particular cable stripper, you need this crimper, and I have the $300 die set, which is so dumb, but it's a $300 piece of metal that is just sized perfectly for the Canair head. So this is a tool you will need if you're terminating 12G SDI. If you're doing 3G SDI, you can get away with these, cable stripper, and get yourself a wrench with a tether. So as you lose your wrench, which you normally do, you tether this to yourself, back pocket of your jeans, keep you from constantly losing your tool. Find it a lot easier, and I know it's mine because of my tether. I do have a couple of these. Of course, you got your other Allen key sets. My laser level for doing video walls and things like that if I need something perfectly leveled. Now that it's all spread out on the table, I hope you found this helpful. These are the things that I find can save the day for the shows that I work on. I did not accumulate all this in a given day. This is multiple years of acquiring gear, making my own cables and things that I found helpful. It's one thing to have this gear in your gig kit. It's another thing to know how to use it in all these different situations. So if you like any of this, I'm putting all the affiliate links down in the description so you guys can check them out for yourself. But this is the gear that I use in any one of my gigs. You're gonna see all of this on different videos down the road. You've seen some of it in videos already. And I just wanted to mention, I do also carry a backpack with me that houses a bunch of other stuff, including my Mac and PC laptop, my iPad, my headphones, my SSD drives and SD cards, dongles, more cables, chargers, things like that. But that all lives in the backpack. This is all the things I keep in my gig kit. So let me know what you guys think. You think if I'm missing something critical that I need to be adding to my gig kit, let me know in the description. And with that, thanks for watching.